Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have De'Ara Taylor Brewer with us today. How you doing, De'Ara?
I'm doing great. And yourself?
I'm doing quite well. That's a great answer. Sometimes when you ask somebody how they're doing, they give you a less than brilliant response. They say things like, I can't call it. They say things like, you tell me, or even I don't know. So to hear that you're doing great, we're already off to a good start.
Great, great.
Hey, tell me, where you from?
I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay. What was it like growing up in Cleveland?
Um, Cleveland, Ohio is one of those cities and states where pretty much you have to learn to adapt, or you'll pretty much get left behind. In Cleveland, you have to find your way. Outside of finding your way, you have to deal with all of the negativity in the process of trying to stay positive while finding your way.
Wow.
So I say to anyone who's grown up in Cleveland, Akron, Northeast Ohio, they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, if you can explain some of the challenges that you dealt with growing up in Cleveland. When you say that you have to essentially make sure that you're out of the way of potential pitfalls, what did that look like for you as a young person?
As a young person, you're constantly trying to find out who you are. And we all know with trying to discover who you are, you pretty much lose yourself until you realize who you are. So I say
Wow.
all that to say we are all pretty much followers, following the leader of who looks to be popular at the moment and trying to trend and do exactly what we see our followers doing. I actually grew up in East Cleveland, which
Okay.
is a more lower poverty area than the actual Cleveland, Ohio area. East Cleveland is one of those independent cities of their own. It's a very low income area. It was a lot of drugs and a lot of gangs when I was growing up in the early 90s.
Wow.
So yeah, I felt subject to peer pressure of trying a few drugs. I felt the peer pressure of basically losing a virginity at an early age because everyone else was doing it. And it was just pretty much one of those things of following whoever we thought was a leader.
Right, right. Okay. And so it sounds like you grew up in a cauldron of a variety of different experiences, and obviously you found a way to overcome any of what would have been a negative influence on you. And so we're very proud to have you on the platform today. I just want to say
Thank you.
congratulations right here at the outset. To all our viewers out there, we're talking to De'Ara Brewer today, and she has a tremendous story in store for us. Everybody's in for a treat, literally. If you can, I'd like for you to take a moment to invite a friend, invite a family member, share this stream out, and get people in the building, because this is going to be a story that many, 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 many people across the country is going to be able to relate to. De'Ara, I want you to talk to me about what it was like for you as a 5-year-old.
Wow, you're taking me back here.
Yes.
As a 5-year-old, I had a baby. Well, I have a baby sister, and we all know when you have a sibling, your parent tends to put a lot on you at a young age, where
Mhm.
you're forced to kind of be of a helpmate. I grew up in a household with a stepdad who was pretty much into the streets, and a mom who was trying to keep the house afloat, but still raise a newborn child.
Mm.
So I was looked at as mommy's helper. I was looked at as the one to, make sure dishes was done after dinner, make sure clothes was folded out of the wash machine and the dryer. That was at a very, very young age, and we're talking the age of 5, 6.
Wow.
So there was a lot of responsibilities put on me at an early age based on the fact that, growing up in East Cleveland, having a dad who was, into the streets, and a mom who was just trying to keep the family together the best way that she could in the
Mhm.
situation that we had. So
How
yes.
did you? How was your character, your overall character, influenced by you being the oldest?
Well, even still to this day, I am the one that's like the know-it-all.
Okay.
Everyone in my family still to this day, pretty much reaches out to me like, "Hey, De'Ara, what about this? Or what about that? Or what do you think about this idea? Or this is what I'm going through." So, you would think of like your grandmother or like an older person in the family being that go-to person, but I have a lot of aunts and uncles that actually pull to me for advice, as if I'm the gifted one.
Mhm.
So again, that took on a lot of responsibilities, a lot of different growth, and me forced to grow up at a very early age, and still to this day, I'm the one that actually probably provides the final say in the next major decision any one of my family makes. And I can say
Wow.
that honestly.
That right there is incredible because you're talking about a level of leadership that we all want in our younger generations in our family. I have three daughters, and hopefully I have a fourth daughter here in September. And my hope for them is that they begin to provide leadership for each other. And so I encourage them to help take dishes out the dishwasher and to help fold clothes and stuff like that, because it's my belief that when I encourage the leadership potential in them, that they'll become a steward of our family culture in the future. And it seems like that's what you're doing today.
Correct. Yes.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Now talk about how De'Ara, who is stepping up to the plate, helping out in different areas in the life, living in East Cleveland. And for those people who don't know, East Cleveland, like she said, it's a smaller kind of subsection of Cleveland, Ohio, and it can be a little bit tougher. It can be a little bit rougher, and it can be a little bit, busier, if you will. What was middle school like for you?
Whew. Okay. Middle school for me was definitely like a fast track to East Cleveland in the raw. Um,
Wow.
when I went to middle school, I went to Kirk Middle School. It's now called Heritage Middle School in East Cleveland,
Okay.
but it just consisted of seventh and eighth grade. Seventh grade, straight out of elementary school, going into it, literally seeing people, have sex in school, smoking
Whoa.
marijuana, disrespecting teachers, getting into physical altercations with teachers. If you ever seen that movie, like High School High, like that was middle school.
Wow.
that,
Or
that
maybe
was
maybe
middle
even
school.
a lean on me.
Exactly, exactly. That was middle
Wow.
school. Um, and again, when you're from East Cleveland, you're from different territories. So every territory had like a set, so to speak, or an East Cleveland gang. And where I lived at, I was adopted into, a street gang. And it was one of those things where you pretty much had to be, because when you go to school, it's like, are you red or are you blue? Or where are you from? And depending on what you said, you would end up into a physical altercation.
Hold up,
If
hold up, hold up, hold up. Let's slow this down a minute. Because it's sounding to me like you're a teenager in high school or
middle
growing
school.
up growing up in Compton, America. But you're just talking about middle school. You telling me that people are having sex in middle school in the school building? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and this was like this was the like 98, 99 era. So it's not that long ago. These kids are pretty much doing a lot of this stuff now, but we're talking about almost a generation behind,
In middle school,
in middle school, correct?
drugs in middle school. Is that correct as well?
Yes, there was quite a few seventh and eighth graders that were doing cocaine,
Oh my
and
God.
marijuana. Yeah, yes.
Listen,
Not just like smoking a cigarette in the bathroom, or a black in the mouth. No, like snorting coke. Yeah,
when I rephrase or paraphrase the things that you're telling me, you can feel free to correct me when I'm wrong.
that's
You know
fine.
that, right?
Yes, I do.
Um, I'm blown away at the details that you're telling me because you're in middle school. So You're what? You're 11, 12 years old around
No,
these situations?
about 12, 13, correct?
Okay. 12, 13. If you do you know anything about statistically, how many people out of those that you went to middle school with, how many of them are what you would consider productive adults today?
I would say about 60% that I can honestly vouch for as far as, still being connected through social media.
Mhm.
About a good 60%. East Cleveland is definitely one of those areas that where they say only the strong survive, where, a lot of these people were raised in the similar households that I was raised in, as far as, like having the two parents, but at least one of them on drugs, where the other parent was like very strong natured, trying to protect that child the best way that he or she knew how to. So it's a good percentage of that 60 that still had some troubles along the way, just like myself, but
Right.
we were able to make it, and there's some that I still see to this day. When I drive through East Cleveland, I instantly get depressed because it's still one of those areas that never went up over the years. It constantly went down, where it's almost just, it's like a forgotten city. And it really looks that way, where I don't like driving through it because it pulls my energy when I go through East Cleveland to this day.
Mhm. What would you say to a young woman or a young man who is going to a middle school where a variety of things are happening, sort of the way that you explained, and they're trying to figure out, how do I get to the end of this school year? COVID-19 is everywhere. From the last time I remember I was in school, everything was just laissez-faire. Everything was just all over the place. What encouragement can you provide to a young person who's in a middle school like the one you went to?
Don't be afraid to be called corny or nerd or lame or whack or whatever the term is nowadays. You have to understand that school is just a 12-year commitment and you still have the rest of your life. School is one of those things that's going to go by so fast that you're going to blink. And just like me, I've been almost out of school for 20 years. It's just one of those things where it seems like it's so long, but once you're out, time flies. And school is a good foundation for you to be able to maneuver in this world. So don't mess up those 12 years just trying to fit in. Just do
Wow.
you and listen to your parents. And when you have that little voice on the side of you, basically telling you to do wrong, it is wrong.
Hey, were there any programs or teachers, mentors that were a positive influence on you that you can talk about?
I would be 100% honest and say that because I was so disconnected in middle school, if there were, I didn't know of any. I didn't know
Wow.
of any. When I was in eighth grade, my favorite science teacher had got arrested in the classroom because he was one of the biggest drug dealers to the students. So
Wow.
he was someone who I thought, was a great guy, but ultimately, he ended up turning as well. So for me in middle school, I would have to say no. For middle school was one of those things where I was just like, okay, come on, high school.
Right. We need heroes in this world to go to our middle schools and volunteer. One of our audience members today, his name is Orlando Riley. This gentleman is one of those heroes who goes into the schools and becomes a mentor. Nobody asks him, nobody is paying him to do this, but he realizes the need that we have in our communities for mentorship. And I'm not just talking about in Black communities, I'm talking about communities all around the world. At this particular point in this conversation, we're talking about middle school, family,
Right.
where people there, you got drugs going on, you got sex going on, you might have some levels of trafficking going on. Teachers are selling drugs to the students. And again,
Right.
stop me when I'm lying, right? And so
Right.
if you can find it in your heart, or you can find the time in your schedule, ladies and gentlemen, reach into some of these middle schools and be a positive example. Okay, because De'Ara Brewer, even though she's gotten out on a positive end of life, she didn't have very many positive people stepping in when she was in middle school. And now that was
Right.
just middle school. Can you talk to us about your transition to high school and what that was like?
Okay, well, high school things got just a little bit better. My mom, we ended up moving out of East Cleveland. We ended up moving to Warrensville, which is, known as like a little middle class suburban area. And when we moved to Warrensville, we still lived in a lower income base of Warrensville. So it was like we were out of East Cleveland. We made it to the suburbs, but we were still in a lower part of that area. But ultimately, my mom's goal was to make sure that I didn't have to go to East Cleveland high schools because, she saw what it did for me in middle school.
Right.
So in high school, I ended up graduating from Warrensville High School. I went to Warrensville from 2000 to 2004. Ninth grade was one of those years again. I still had some old baggage on me from middle school.
Mhm.
So I, I went in high school just feeling like I don't want to get to know any of these people. These people are completely different than what I'm used to. I looked at them as like the suburban uppity kids who, just had everything. I wasn't used to seeing kids coming to school with clean clothes on, less
Right.
long Tommy Hilfiger, Jordans, and, polo. I wasn't used to seeing that. I came from a school district where we wore uniform and everyone wore the same clothes pretty much every day,
Right.
where friends shared shoes just to make it seem like, they only afford that one pair of school shoes.
Mhm.
So Warrensville was a completely different environment for me. Um, but I would say ninth grade was one I was very standoffish, didn't really talk to anyone, just went to school, did my work, came home. 10th grade, I opened up a little bit more, start getting a few friends and, start fitting in. But I noticed that, when you go to like a middle class area, the students are more focused on sports. So I started attending a lot of the sports events and, just getting a different type of environment of people around me who were really into academics and, making sure their grades was good just so they can play a sport.
Right.
So high school was pretty good. I don't have anything to say about high school. Outside of the fact that it was an eye opener for me in reference to being able to see children around my age that actually have a better way of life that I was used to seeing.
Right. Now, ladies and gentlemen out there in the audience, when we talk about coming out of a poverty stricken environment, it's not always that you didn't have a dollar in your pocket.
Right.
Sometimes it's that your environment was broken or dysfunctional in multiple ways. And so, De'Ara, I want you to talk about how your world opened up when you got into a more positive place, which was the Warrensville area.
Right. Well, keep in mind as kids, we still do that follow the model expert, that still follow the model concept. So, I was around a more positive environment. So to be honest, it created me to be more positive. It created me to give a open cheerleaders or the basketball players and, communicate with people more and slowly find out that, hey, like these people may not appear poor, but they have the same everyday struggles that we have in my household.
Mhm.
Seeing and being friends with one of the top cheerleader girls who had a father struggling with the same issue that my stepdad struggled with, but their household just had more money, so they were able to condone it better. Just
Right.
getting a realistic perspective of knowing that everybody is in the same situation, they just handle their situation differently.
Mhm. So basically, you went into a different area in terms of mentality. People might have been dealing with some of the same stuff, but their mentality was, we're not going to live like this anymore. We're not going to condone generational dysfunction anymore, because now we see some hope, because we creating some hope, because we're doing things a little bit differently,
Correct, correct.
right? How do you feel about generational curses that might exist in our families, and our responsibility to break them?
Well, what I honestly feel that when they say things are passed down and passed down, um, I feel like we can only hold our parents accountable up until we're 18. After that, it's like they controlled us up until we're legal age, and then we need to make the smart decisions on our own. We can't keep talking about I'm 30 years old, but my mom did this and my grandmother did that. That's because they chose to do that. That does not mean that I have to do that. It doesn't mean because my mom worked in security, I have to work in security. I think that people need to honestly have an open mind. And my husband always says this, and it's one of the things that always sticks with me. He said people need to challenge everything that they are ever taught, because we never challenge the things that our parents teaches us, because they're our teachers. We feel like we're learning from them, so why would we challenge their authority? But our parents are our teachers, but at the same time they're just still winging it also. And you being a parent, I'm pretty sure that you can vouch. I'm pretty sure that you can vouch for some of the things that you may have taught your daughters a few years ago. This year, those things may have changed if you reevaluate that. So I just feel like us as a people, I don't believe in generational curses. I feel like you are in control of your own destiny, and you have to make the right decisions for you. It has nothing to do with because of this parent or this cousin or that aunt. It's all on you. Those are excuses.
Mm-hmm. Wow, powerful. That's powerful. So what I take it is that you graduated high school.
Correct. I did.
Okay. Now talk about that. How did that feel when you graduated high school? I know statistically,
Right.
everybody who you were in elementary school with, and everybody who you were in elementary school with, everybody didn't graduate high school.
Correct. Well, I will be 100% honest. Okay. I was one of those students that I really didn't love school. I wasn't like a school lover. I was not one of those students where I would got the little invitation to come to the award ceremonies. I never got awards. I was one of those students that was just like, all right, let me get this 12 years over with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My school, we had 230 kids. I'll be 100% honest and say this. I ranked number 202 in my class. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, it was more so like, I just got my diploma. I'm out of here. Still to this day, I have not stepped foot on Warrensville premises since 2004.
Right.
So, I've always just, when it comes to school, I feel like it is one of those things that are very important. I'm not going to say it's not. If I could do a redo, then I would definitely aim to try to be in the top 5%. But just making it and getting out was my main goal. And plus, with everything that my mom was basically dealing with, again, a household with a father who was on drugs, a newborn baby, and basically my mom trying to pour into me while still maintaining a home and doing a full-time job. Her whole thing was just get your diploma, just get your diploma, just graduate. She wasn't even trying or having the mental capacity to say, well, it's time for you to start looking into some, scholarships, or it's time to think about college. She wasn't even mentally there. Her whole thing, just get out of high school, just graduate, just graduate. So, I know ultimately that, again, we are in control of our own self. And I know that if I wanted more out of school, then I would have gotten more. But because I just didn't want more than what I got, I was ready to just get out. But I graduated.
I'm going to also put this into the milieu here. It's not always those who graduate at the top of the class
Mm-hmm.
who go the furthest in life. And when I say go the furthest in life, I mean not become complacent early on. When you're 30 and 40 years old, do you become complacent and rest on your laurels or achievements, or do you continue to go upward? See, everybody's not just going to shoot off like a rocket.
Correct.
Some people have more of a gradual growth and a gradual incline to a grand milestone in life. And so for all of the people out there who might be watching, you might be an adult in school right now, or you might be a young person in school right now. It's not where you rank out of however many people. It's about where your heart is.
Correct.
It's about what your intention is for yourself, just like Diarra is saying. So I commend you for keeping your head high regardless of what rank you might have had when you graduated high school, because you graduated and everybody didn't graduate. I also want to say that I commend all the mothers out there who are doing more than one job. They're raised in a house full of children and they're trying to keep everything afloat. They're trying to give you positivity where there is no positivity. They're feeding you food when there is no food. They're making a holiday for you when there is no holiday. Right. They're providing transportation when there is no transportation. And I have to commend you. So many conversations I have with people, it's about a grandmother who was praying and a grandmother who was providing a spiritual foundation. And then after that, it's about a mother who is wearing 4 or 5 hats at one time, you know, and then that's how we get to the current generation. So shout out to all our mothers out there. Stephanie Wilson says, hey, my friend, proud of you, boo. Okay, Stephanie, thanks for stopping by. Yeah. So now I want to know, you graduated high school. You obviously have a mentality of a go-getter. What was going on with you when you graduated high school?
A regular 9 to 5. You know,
What's that?
I was never I wasn't thinking about college. I never played sports because my grades didn't appear to be sports eligible. So when I was in 10th grade, I started working my first job was at a White Castle restaurant. And I worked there. And ultimately, when I got out of high school, my goal was to continue to work at White Castle and be like a shift lead or a manager or something. Because at that point in my life, when I graduated, I didn't know what was next, but I just knew that I wanted to make money. And because, again, all I had was that high school diploma, you know, I stuck with what I already had. And that was a job at White Castle. But ultimately, that job experience heightened me to get into like the customer service field. And from there, I started working in like call centers and, you know, really starting to get a feel of what I can do. And, you know, finally found out that my niche is customer service and sales and marketing. You know, that was something that I had to find out on my own based on just going job to job.
Wow. Now, for those people out there who might think customer service is easy, can you fill us in? What's the real strategy? What's the skill? Who's a hot shot in customer service?
Well, honestly, I chose to work in the call center environment mainly because I've done retail customer service face to face. You know, we all can't just wear that smile every single day, no matter how much we want to, no matter how much we're getting paid to. We as a people can see through phoniness and being fake. So what I adapted was me working in a call center environment. It was very easy for me to keep a smile on the phone. It was very easy for me to still provide that great customer service, even if I may have not been having a great day. So to me, the niche for customer service is first finding out if you are that much of a people person that you can handle that face-to-face experience, or are you a people person, but you work better over the phone? And I work better over the phone.
Okay. And so how did you excel at customer service?
I excel greatly. Wow. I excel very, very good. Every position I've ever worked at, I've always been like their top 5 employee. I've always been that employee where my ranking was, I may have not ranked high in high school, but in customer service and sales and marketing, I was always the top 5% employee. I was always the one that everyone was still gravitating to, trying to figure out what was my secret. Because in customer service, moving forward towards the technology era, like, you know, the 2000 mark, sales became very big because a lot of things start taking place with technology where it wasn't about just, hi, can I explain your bill? It was about, hi, can I explain your bill, but tell you why HBO is important for you to get right now. You know, so upselling became very popular in the early 2000s, and that introduced me to the whole customer service and sales era.
For sure. And so it sounds like while you spent a lot of time trying to find a positive self-identity, you ended up figuring out how to start winning at life. Once you graduated from high school, you immediately started winning at life. And that means that your heart is in the right place. You've got a good heart. ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that I discovered about De'Ara is that she went through a tremendous transformation after she went through high school, and amongst other things, we're going to talk about some of that when we come back from a brief break. America's Next Motivator, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network. And we're back. So, De'Ara, I'm getting ready to put a picture on the screen, and I want you to talk about what we're looking at. Okay, I want to share my screen real quick. All right.
Okay.
Yep. For all our people out there, we are America's Next Motivator on Instagram. Feel free to find us.
All right.
I want you to tell us what we're looking at here.
Okay. What we are looking at is when I decided to put my health first and start my external transformation, but years later really found out it was more internal.
Wow.
So back in 2015, actually 2014, I was told that I needed to be on insulin because I had diabetes. I had no idea I had diabetes. I went to a regular doctor's appointment and they told me, they wrote me a prescription immediately for insulin. And, I'm like, no, I don't want to be on insulin. I don't want to be on anything. I have to do something drastic for myself. At that point, I seen a nutritionist and we started discussing a weight loss surgery.
Wow.
It was something that, my family did not want me to do out of fear of, not waking up. But ultimately, I had been big my whole entire life. And at that picture that you see, I was 340 pounds, which was my biggest. I actually took that picture a week before my surgery. So I was 340 pounds after I had my gastric sleeve surgery on March 15th of 2015. I remember that date like it's my anniversary. Immediately, I started to lose weight. Immediately within like the first 4 or 5 months, I dropped. So when I took that next picture, I believe I was about 280 pounds or so.
Okay.
And as you see, I have on a two-piece. Now, I know we don't see most 280-pound people in two pieces, but it was more so like, I can do this. It was more so like me starting to gain some form of confidence and excitement about losing weight that I never really even thought that I would lose. Because when you're a big person, it's either you're going to be overly confident or you're going to have extremely low self-esteem. It's
Okay.
just one or the other. You have to carry it whichever way. And to be honest, I was always overly confident on the external to people. Everyone thought, De'Ara, she's so confident. She's so confident. But inside, it was like, I wasn't. I was faking. What a lot of most big people do. Okay. So moving forward, years later, about almost 2 years ago, I adopted a vegan lifestyle because I had lost weight. The surgery will only help you lose a certain amount of weight before it's like, okay, you have to do something on your own.
Okay.
And I wanted to do something drastic. So I adapted a vegan lifestyle for about a year. Within that year, I went from, actually, I'll explain these pictures, but it's not on these pictures, but I went from about 290 all the way down to 175 was my lowest. Okay.
Wow.
So 175 was my lowest, but when I got down to 175, I didn't like myself at 175. I'm like, I'm used to being, a little thicker, this, that, and the other. So I went from 175 to, on that picture that you see, which was actually taken almost last November, I was 195 pounds.
Can
So
we
right,
pause? Can we pause for a second?
yes.
This is incredible that you went from 340 pounds to 190 pounds. And you didn't just get there because of the procedure. You got there because you had a spiritual change from putting on a front of confidence to saying, no, you know what? I'm getting ready to really take my transformation by the handles, and I'm getting ready to really change myself. Can
Correct.
you talk? Can you talk to me about how you got over some of the hard days of going through this transformation?
Well, again, I kept talking to you all about my stepdad, my stepdad. So if you notice, I never said my biological father. I suffered a lot from acceptance. I always wanted acceptance from a man. I had my stepdad. He was loving, caring, but every child wants their daddy. Okay. So for me, I always gravitated towards being accepted. And it was always coming from the wrong type of attention.
Mm,
And what I looked at is as I lost weight, I start to have more and more self-worth about myself.
wow.
So it was like the pounds that I was losing, it was like I was really getting rid of old baggage of a lifestyle that I was used to. And
Okay.
like kind of rebuilding this new self and having higher self-esteem as well as having more self-worth for, my body.
Wow. Now there is this concept floating around on social media that's gaining a lot of traction, and it's about positivity when it comes to your body.
Mhm.
There's women out there right now who are not feeling very positive about their body. Can you take a few seconds and speak to them based on your experience?
Well, based on my experience, I don't want to sugarcoat it. I'm a woman. It doesn't matter if I'm a Kim Kardashian. We all still have our emotions where we just feel like we're not good enough as far as our looks. You have all of these celebrities that's constantly going under the knife because they're not happy with something, and it works the same way. So, like, I look at these pictures and I look at myself in the mirror and I'm just like, okay, I know I'm not 340 pounds anymore. I stepped on the scale yesterday. Okay, I know I'm 195 pounds, but to me, even me knowing that huge accomplishment, it's like it's still not enough. It's still not enough. Even though I have this loving husband who just loves every part of me, who's telling me, you are enough, you are enough. As women, that's the number one thing that we still kind of battle with when it is it enough? And, for me to like speak on that, I would really be lying to you if I could give like a true positive message, because that's something that I actually still battle with myself
Mhm.
and losing all the weight. So the one main thing that I try to remind myself is I'm definitely not where I used to be. And my life is just still a work in progress.
Mhm.
And, you know, um, the main thing that I would tell any woman is just to continue to try to mentally, because it's at this point it's mental. At
Mhm.
this point, it has nothing to do with my body, because I constantly get all the compliments about the weight that I've lost and how amazing I look. At this point, we as women need to really work on our mental and really strengthening to understand that, we are exactly who God created. We can improve some external things, but the main thing we need to focus on is our mental.
Right. And I also want to encourage that each and every one of you is beautiful. I know that men probably more than likely, realistically, go through a lot of these same issues about body positivity. And what it boils down to is understanding, like my mother used to tell me, beauty is not always what's on the outside. Beauty starts from within. And so once you realize the beauty that exists within you, then you work toward the goal of making yourself the best that you can possibly be. And that's all we can really do.
Right.
Everybody's not going to think you're the most attractive person in the world. and that's okay. Everybody's not going to think, think of you the way that you think of yourself, and that's just reality. But the way that you think of yourself, it has to be positive. You are a regal entity, a royal entity, a high quality, divinely crafted entity. And what we've got to do is put the best things we can in our bodies. Would you agree with that?
I definitely agree.
What kinds of things have you been putting in your body lately?
Well, again, I told you I was a vegan, so I'm no longer a vegan, but I practice a lot of holistic ways of living.
Okay.
With the air that we breathe, the toxins that are coming from our air, the processed food that we eat, the clone food that we eat, we have to put the correct things in our body because, like you said, our body is a temple. So, I do quite a few herbal things, and it's actually heightening and taking off quite a bit. And if you would like to discuss them, we're more than open to discuss them.
Well, listen. I have one more clip that I want to show our audience, and then
Okay.
we'll get into that portion, okay?
All right.
Taking my Telemate sea moss. I usually use it in a smoothie, hot water with lemon, or a tea. I just want to say that this has been amazing for my body. I have suffered with lower back pain for years. Recently, it has become unbearable, and I noticed that it was due to inflammation. I was taking aspirin daily just to help not be in pain, just to walk to do my normal day. I've been taking this sea moss for about 2, almost 3 weeks, and it's amazing. I even tested it out because I know some people are skeptics. I didn't take it for 2 days, and when I tell you I am in so much pain, I woke up this morning, the first thing I'm taking, warm lemon water with my sea moss.
Incredible.
Incredible, yes.
Incredible. And so what were we looking at there?
What we were looking at is one of my products. It's called sea moss. Sea moss is a seaweed that comes from the ocean that you clean and then you soak and you turn into an actual gel. So it turns into a gel.
Wow. Okay.
And you take 2 tablespoons a day. The benefits first is it's seaweed from the earth. It contains 92 minerals. Our body is made up of 102 minerals. Sea moss contains 92 of those. So the young lady's video that you played, as she stated, she suffered from arthritis and different pains. Well, sea moss's main job is to remove mucus and inflammation from your body. Um, there's a lot of different diseases that is mucus prone, like diabetes, high blood pressure, fibromyalgia, lupus, thyroid. These are all diseases because that you get based on the fact that you have mucus around these areas, as well as you're lacking of the mineral. So when you don't have certain minerals, your body will develop certain disorders, and those are the most popular ones that it develops. And
Okay.
I'm not going to say is the overall cure, but you see on my Instagram page, I have thousands of customers who have those issues that I mentioned, who take this natural product and have gotten off of their medication 100%.
Mhm. So let me see if I'm getting this correct. Sea moss is a plant that comes out of the ocean.
Correct. From the ocean rocks, the seaweed.
Okay. So sea moss is a form of sea plant that provides most of the vitamins and minerals that your body needs. It sounded like you said 98 out of 102. Was that accurate?
So sea moss doesn't provide any vitamins. Remember, vitamins is something that is man-made and synthetic.
Wow.
Um, minerals is something that only comes from the earth and
So
from our body.
sea moss provides minerals.
Sea moss provides minerals.
Okay.
It provides 92 of the 103 that our body is made up of.
Wow. Okay. And then it also sounds like you said that we have a lot of mucus in our bodies that we need to get rid of. Do you think that's everybody has mucus in their body that they need to get rid of?
Yes, if you are utilizing the regular Western American way of eating, if you're incorporating dairy, if you eat meat, if you eat processed food, that alone is mucus. It all breaks down to sugar. Sugar breaks down to mucus. So it all breaks down to mucus, along with the air that we breathe. It's toxins everywhere, and it's so easy for our body to pull mucus in. And when it comes to sea moss is one of those things that it removes mucus out of your body. So I have
Okay.
people when they take the sea moss, like their nose will run more, they're just mucus is extracting out. They'll have larger bowel movements. It suppresses your appetite. When you're
Okay.
providing your body with minerals, you don't have a craving of anything. So part of my maintaining of my weight, I can honestly say this clearly, is because I take sea moss. It suppresses my appetite to the point where I have to force myself to eat because I'm not hungry, because it's the minerals is giving my body everything that it needs.
So two things. Sea moss is not just the latest trend. Sea moss is something. Has it always been around?
Sea moss has definitely always been around, but sea moss is one of those things that America is pretty much getting to very, very late. A lot of people think that sea moss came from just, like Jamaica. That's like one of the latest things that you can only get sea moss from Jamaica. And that's definitely not true. Sea moss in other countries are actually called other terms outside of sea moss.
Like what?
The main term that this seaweed right here, this is sea moss, okay?
Okay.
The main term is Inakutanati, is how it's pronounced.
Okay.
And it's actually Vietnamese. And in Vietnam, they treat sea moss or seaweed, this seaweed, as an actual delicacy where it's treated like it's only served in five-star restaurants. It's a vegetable that they will have their chef go out and pull it directly from the ocean to serve to you as a dish, as like a dish, because in Vietnam, they're not really big on rice, how like China is. They're
Oh,
big
really?
on steamed vegetables and sources from the earth. So sea moss is very, very popular in Vietnam. My nail tech, she's Vietnamese, and she was extremely happy when I was able to provide her with some, because she hasn't had any since she was a child, because she's now living in America and we don't have it here. Um, so when I receive my Irish moss, which is another term for it, because it's a perishable, my distributor, he has to dehydrate it and ship it over to me. And that's why you've seen it where it's pretty much dried out. Because if it's not a produce in the United States, they have to turn that perishable into something where it's not edible right away. Um, because it's not in our chain. Even when you go to like Asian supermarkets or African supermarkets, they don't sell this as a vegetable. It's
Right.
always dehydrated.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
yeah.
And it sounds like sea moss is something that we probably should have been eating this entire time. I'm talking about hundreds of years. We've been over here eating things that did not include sea moss. And going forward, if you just tuned in, we're talking to Dear Brewer, and in lieu of all the changes that she made in her life, she decided to take a holistic approach, and in doing so, she provided a solution for other people as well. One of those solutions is called sea moss, and sea moss removes mucus from our bodies so that we can be much healthier, and it also provides minerals that we just can't easily find in the American diet. Now, dear, if people are out there, they cringe when they think about vegetables, and they cringe when they think about the taste of vegetables. Have you made any changes to your process of creating your and this is tailor-made sea moss?
Tailor-made sea moss,
Have
correct.
you what have you done to your sea moss that makes it different from any of the other grungy vegetables that might be out there?
Okay, so when everyone thinks of sea moss or sea moss gel, they automatically think of it being salty or gritty or having like a sea or fishy or ocean taste. And I am here to tell you, as someone who has processed thousands of jars of sea moss at this point, The only reasoning why a sea moss has to ever be salty or gritty or smells like an ocean is because the person who prepared it, unfortunately, did not do a good job in doing so. So, sea moss is one of those things that you just cannot rush. It's similar to like a chitlin, so to speak. We don't just eat anybody's chitlin. Well, I don't eat them at all. But if you know the process of it, you know you have to thoroughly clean it. If you don't thoroughly clean it, it's not going to taste well. So what I pride myself on is my sea moss being non-gritty, non-salty, very smooth, and it has a pleasant taste. Now again, I don't put fruit in my sea moss. A lot of distributors who sell sea moss gel, they infuse it with fruit. I don't believe in putting fruit in mine, mainly because once you extract that to a gel, it's now perishable and it's supposed to last you for 2.5 to 3 weeks. So I wouldn't want to put mangoes or papaya or any type of fresh fruit in it because after about a week, your product is now bad and you've wasted your money. So I don't believe in putting fruit in my sea moss, but I do put like a lemon taste where it's more of a refreshing taste. And again, I mean, it's one of those things once you start noticing the benefits, to be honest, you won't even care how it tastes.
Do kids now? What about kids? Do kids eat your sea moss as well,
Yes.
based on the way that you're processing it?
Yes, I have plenty of videos on my Instagram of children taking my sea moss. Also, sea moss, I have pregnant women that take sea moss. It is very safe for pregnant women. Again, you're providing your body with minerals. So a lot of people ask me, well, what about prenatal vitamins? Well, what about a synthetic vitamin that was made in the lab by man? What about it?
Okay. Right.
Your body needs minerals from the earth.
You thought, hold on, you thought somebody that had a bottle of Century 21 vitamin said something, huh?
Exactly.
Okay. Listen, I want to see households across America order a jar of tailor-made sea moss from you. How can people get in touch to buy one of your sea moss products?
Well, they can actually purchase it directly from the website. I ship throughout the United States and Canada.
What's the URL?
www.tailormadeseamoss.com.
Okay.
I allow customers to pick up who are in Ohio, but I also, as I stated, provide shipping. I also sell the raw sea moss, where if you want to make your own gel or get into the whole sea moss business yourself, I have it where you can wholesale sea moss from me.
Can you be found on Instagram?
Yes, my Instagram is tailormade sea moss.
Okay. Now, we have had a tremendous time today here on America's Next Motivator. And I would maybe like to bring you back sometime and we could talk about how your case study, which it could be your Instagram page, is exemplifying the way that sea moss is changing the lives of your customers. I'd love to have you back sometime. But I have 3 questions that I need to ask you, and I need you to answer them within about a minute and 10 seconds of
Okay.
our viewers. The first is, what is survival to you?
My goodness. Making a way out of no way when anyone thinks that way can't even be created.
What is success to you?
Knowing that you are providing a service that no one else can provide and dedicating yourself to something that you are internally proud about and yeah, you're successful about.
Mm-hmm. And what is greatness to you?
Greatness to me is providing praise and honor to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and just thanking him for every opportunity that comes my way and understanding that everybody's dreams is different, but I follow the path that he has me on. So that's, if this is the path, then that's grateful enough. I'm fulfilling that.
Sure. Dear, I want to let you know that I see your work and I respect it. I commend the work that you've done, and I see that you're creating products. And for those of us who are interested, it's more than just sea moss. She's providing a host of holistic products on her site and on her Instagram page. This is access for us to really change ourselves at a molecular level. Sometimes in life we say, wow, how do I make a change? Listen, it's not always a philosophical change. Sometimes it gets